My name is Beverly Goodwin. I am 39 years old. 6 months ago, my mother told me, across a pot roast, in front of my father and my brother, that I would never be as good as Michael. I set my fork down. I said the sentence that had been waiting 15 years to come out. My mother's face did something I had never seen it do before. She looked at me like a stranger she had been lied to about. I thought I was the one holding the secret at that table. I was wrong. Someone had been lying to my mother for 5 years. Someone she trusted more than me. By the time my brother raised his glass at a charity gala 6 months later, 300 people were about to learn something I had only just learned myself. Before I go on, do me a small kindness. Like this video. Tell me in the comments where you are listening from. I love knowing who is at the table with me. Anyone who has ever been the reliable one in a family. You know the tiredness I am describing. Let me take you back to that Sunday in October, the day I stopped pretending. The pot roast was the same one my mother had made every October Sunday since I was 12. Same carrots, same small pearl onions she burned on the stove until they caught a little. Same cloth napkins with the blackberry stains she refused to replace. I had flown in from Boston that morning. My parents' dining room had not changed in 15 years. The same brass chandelier hung too low over the table. The same framed photograph of my brother in his white coat, taken at his medical school graduation, hung on the wall behind my father's chair. My brother Michael was talking about a donation, $50,000. He had given it, he said, to the children's cardiology program at his hospital. My father nodded the way a man nods when he has heard the news he was waiting for. I mentioned politely that my firm had just closed an $18 million pledge to a cardiac wing in the same state. My mother chuckled. She actually chuckled. Then she said the line, "Money isn't the same as saving lives, sweetie. You'll never be quite as good as your brother. But we love you anyway." My father looked at his plate. Michael smiled his smile, the one he used in hospital hallways. "Mom, be nice." I set my fork down. 15 years of swallowed dinners came up in one clean sentence. "Then tell him to pay the bills, Mom. I'm not sending money anymore." My mother blinked twice. Something honest moved across her face, something confused. "What money?" "Beverly, we've never received a single dollar from you." The cruelest things in a family are never shouted. They are slid across the table between the gravy and the green beans, and everyone is expected to chew right through them. Let me tell you that for free. My mother's face, when she said she had never received a single dollar from me, was the most honest thing she had told me in 15 years. It was the beginning of the worst 6 months of my life. I drove the first 3 hours without the radio on. The interstate in October is a long gray tunnel of rain and construction and brake lights. I had a rental car out of Cleveland. I had a thermos of bad coffee from the hotel I had booked in a panic the night before, because I had not wanted to sleep at my parents' house. That should have told me something. And it did not tell me anything yet. I kept hearing my mother's voice, not the chuckle, the blink. The blink was the part that bothered me. My mother is not a good liar. My mother is, in fact, the worst liar in our family. She telegraphs like a church bell. When she said she had never received a dollar from me, she had telegraphed nothing. No flinch, no hesitation. She had just said it, and then waited for me to explain myself. I pulled into a rest stop in western Pennsylvania around 10 at night. I stood under a yellow light next to a vending machine, and I did the math. $3,000 a month, 60 months, $180,000. Gone somewhere. Not to my mother, not to my father. Somewhere. Before we go further, let me just welcome you properly. Pour yourself something warm. Pull up a chair. Like this video if you are with me tonight. Leave a comment telling me your city. It is always nicer when I know who I am sitting with. I drove the rest of the way with the radio still off. Somewhere outside Erie, I began to understand something, and by the time I crossed into Massachusetts, I had a plan. Not a full plan. The first piece of one. I am a CFO. I do not panic about money. I find out where it went. My mother collected my brother's accomplishments the way some women collect commemorative plates. Each one hung carefully, each one dusted weekly. Never quite enough of them to fill the wall, so she kept needing more. When I was 8, I came home with a perfect score on a math test. I ran up to the kitchen with it. My mother looked at the paper, then at me, and said, "Oh, lovely. Did your brother help you with that?" Michael was 12. He was watching cartoons in the den. He had not helped me with anything in his life. That was the whole arrangement, explained at the dining counter before I was old enough to understand what I was learning. My brother was the bright one. I was the steady one. My parents took $40,000 out of savings to send Michael to medical school. They took exactly $0 out of savings to send me to business school. I took loans. I paid them off in 6 years. Alone, at a desk in a studio apartment, and I never once mentioned it at a Thanksgiving table. When Michael finished his residency, my mother stood up in the church hall during coffee hour and told the entire congregation, "We have a doctor now. Our family finally has a doctor." People clapped. Someone hugged her. When I graduated with my MBA, my mother sent flowers to my apartment with a card that said, "So proud of you, sweetie. Will you be home for Christmas?" Let me tell you something true. The child who is never praised learns to measure herself in quieter things. Spreadsheets, early mornings, the weight of an envelope she mails without a return address. By the time I was 30, I had stopped hoping my mother would ever be proud of me. By the time I was 35, I had stopped hoping she would ever see me at all. On Monday morning, before my second coffee, my best friend in the business casually gave me the second piece of the puzzle. Her name is Helena Vaughn. She runs the oversight committee for a regional hospital foundation in Ohio. We met 9 years ago at a philanthropy conference in New York, in the hotel bar, both of us hiding from a man who wanted to discuss tax exemptions. We have been friends ever since. I called her about something else, an unrelated question about a grant structure. We got through our business in 4 minutes, and then she said, "The way you say the weather. By the way, that gala, Fairmont Regional, they want you to speak. Your family office is the lead donor, and Michael is being honored too. Matching gifts, apparently. Clever of him." I let a second pass. Matching gifts. "Yeah. He says his personal giving has matched part of your firm's pledge, $250,000. Makes his bio read beautifully for the wing naming. You didn't know?" I held the phone very still. I didn't know. Oh. Well, he was probably saving it as a surprise. Helena did not hear what I heard in her sentence. She moved on to her week. We scheduled a lunch. I hung up. $250,000 from my brother, the same brother who, when our father had needed a knee replacement 2 years earlier, had called me at 11 at night to ask if I could cover the copay because he was between payrolls. The copay had been $600. My brother's personal pledge to my firm's project had a 0 after every digit my brother actually had. Helena had handed me a thread. I would spend the next 3 weeks pulling it until the sweater fell apart. If that money had not come from a cardiologist's salary, I already had a guess where it had come from. By Tuesday afternoon, I had stopped being a sister and started being a CFO. I walked down 2 floors to Marcus Webb's office. Marcus is our compliance officer. He has been at the firm longer than I have. He is 60 and bald and kind and terrifying to anyone who has ever tried to launder anything through a charitable vehicle. He drinks tea. He does not small talk. I closed the door behind me and sat down. "Marcus, I need to open a ticket." He nodded. He waited. That is Marcus's whole thing. He lets you say the thing yourself. "I need a compliance audit on 2 items. First, the personal wire transfers from my private account to a joint account in Ohio. 5 years of them, $3,000 a month. The joint account is in my parents' names. My brother is the authorized signer. Second, the donor records at Fairmont Regional Medical Center. Any matching gift commitments attributed to Dr. Michael Goodwin, MD, against our firm's cardiac wing pledge. Marcus set his tea down. Beverly, your brother is a connected party. This is a conflict of interest. I know. I want it on the record. You understand what happens if there is a finding. I understand. He looked at me for one long breath. Then he pulled a pad over. I'll file it tonight. 3-week turnaround. Do you want me to loop in legal? Loop them in. I want a paper trail on this. One that could be read out loud in a courtroom. I had spent 15 years keeping my family off my professional letterhead. I was about to do the opposite. There is a kind of courage that does not look like courage. It looks like a woman opening a compliance ticket and typing her own brother's name into the form. Marcus gave me a timeline. 3 weeks for the audit. The gala was in 6. I called my mother on Wednesday night. I kept my voice the exact temperature of a bank teller's. Mom, tell me, that joint account we opened a few years ago, do you check it? Oh, honey, Michael handles all that. You know your brother is so good with numbers. Don't you worry about us. Mom, have you ever actually looked at the statements? A pause. Not a long one. Long enough. Why are you asking? Is this about Sunday? It isn't about Sunday. Well, your brother does so much for us. He paid for the new roof last year. He drove your father to the eye doctor in August. He handles the bills. The roof. I had wired an extra $18,000 in May for that roof. The bills. The bills I had paid, silently, every first of the month, for 60 months. Mom, have you ever logged into the account? Beverly, don't turn this into one of your New York lawyer things. I live in Boston, Mom. You know what I mean. I pinched the bridge of my nose. My mother had a particular gift. She could take any question about my brother and turn it into an accusation against me in the space of 2 sentences without breaking a sweat. Mom, I'll talk to you later. Beverly. I hung up. I did not cry. I opened my laptop. I pulled up the online portal for the joint account. I typed in the username my mother had, years ago, let me set up. The password was still the same one I had chosen for her. She had never changed it. She had never used it. You mothers, you sisters, you aunts sitting with your tea right now. Tell me you don't know this look. The one your mother gives the favorite child. Shaped like forgiveness she has never once given you. Abe, by the time I hung up, I understood something I had been refusing to understand. My mother was not lying. My mother genuinely did not know. Friday morning, I called Helena back. Yes, I'll speak at the gala. Wonderful. Let me get you on the program. I'll send the honoree list tomorrow. Michael is on it, of course. Anything I should know? I watched the light on my desk phone. A small red light that blinked whenever anyone called. It blinked now. Voicemail from my mother. Again. Helena, if I asked you to hold the honoree announcement until my remarks, could you? Silence on her end. Then, Beverly. What is going on? I don't know yet. I will in 2 weeks. You want me to hold an announcement of a matching donor on the main program at a black tie event because you asked me to. Yes. She was quiet for a long moment. All right, I'll move it to after your remarks. I'll tell the director it is a sequencing issue. I trust you. Thank you, Helena. Beverly, if you need me to be more than a friend on this, you'll tell me. I will. I hung up and stood at my office window. 34 floors over the harbor. A tanker moving slowly out toward the open water. A seagull on the ledge. The city doing what a city does, which is keep moving whether you are ready or not. There are moments in a woman's life when she stops asking permission. This was one of them. The gala was 5 weeks away. The audit was 3. I had just enough time to learn the truth, and exactly enough time to do something about it. I would like to be able to tell you I felt calm. I did not feel calm. I felt something closer to the way you feel the morning of a funeral, after the crying is done, when the coffee is cooling, and you are trying to remember which shoes match the dress. I met my brother's wife at a coffee urn in a Chicago convention hotel. I had never spoken a full sentence to her before. Her name was Lauren. She had red hair, thick at the ends, pulled back, a gray blazer that fit the way a blazer fits when you have had it altered, which my sister-in-law had, because she was a tax attorney, with a partner track, and she knew how a blazer was supposed to sit. I was at the urn filling a cup. I turned, and there she was. "You're Michael Goodwin's sister. I'm Lauren. I'm his wife." She paused. "For about 2 more months." I set the cup down. "I've been meaning to find you for a while," she said, quietly. No drama. "Do you have 10 minutes?" We walked to a bench in the hallway, and she did not make small talk. I appreciated it. She told me 3 things in the space of 7 minutes. 1. She was filing for divorce. She had found unauthorized withdrawals from their home equity line. $74,000 over 18 months. 2. She believed my brother had a gambling problem. Sports betting mostly. A specific online sportsbook registered out of Delaware. 3. You send money to your parents, right? I did not answer. I did not need to. "I thought so," she said. "I found a transfer log. $3,000 a month coming in. Going out to Delaware the same week. I didn't know if it was yours, or if he was stealing from someone else. I'm sorry." There is a kind of friendship between women who have been lied to by the same man. It does not require small talk. It skips directly to loyalty. Lauren gave me her card. "When you're ready, I have printouts." I put her card in my wallet next to my driver's license. I have kept it there ever since. Marcus sent the preliminary audit at 9:47 p.m. on a Thursday. I was sitting on my couch in Cambridge with a glass of wine I had not touched. The windows behind me faced the river. The water was black. A single scull slid past. Late. A red light on the stern. I opened the attachment. 5 years of wire logs from the joint account. $180,000 in. Same amount out. Out too. A sports book licensed out of Delaware. 187 separate transfers. $94,000 total. A cryptocurrency exchange from 2021 through late 2023. $38,000. Every cent of it lost, according to the exchange's own disclosure records, which our legal team could pull because they were not private. My brother's personal checking account, $48,000, in small, steady deposits, $0 to my mother, $0 to my father, $0 to any vendor related to the roof, the copay, the eye doctor, the insulin, the anything. I read the report 3 times. I did not need a 4th. The math was the kind of math you do not forget. My brother had not stolen from me. My brother had stolen through me. I was the pipeline. My parents were the excuse. He was the drain. I closed the laptop. I finished the wine. If you've made it this far into the story with me, really, thank you. This is the part where I started to understand I was not dealing with a brother who had made a mistake. I was dealing with a pattern. Like this video if you are feeling what I felt. I see you. Keep going. I went to bed at 2:14 a.m. I woke at 5:30. My hands were steady. My voice was steady. I went to work. I called my father on Sunday. He was in the garage when my mother handed him the phone. I could hear the radio in the background. The game. He always had the game on Sundays. "Dad, can we talk for a minute?" Without Mom on the line. "Of course, honey." He sounded surprised. He closed a door. The game went quiet. Dad. The joint account. The one Mom and I opened a few years ago. Has Michael been handling it? Your brother's very kind, Beverly. He brings us cash when we need it. He brought your mother $20 last week for her hair appointment. My father had been a bookkeeper for 31 years, and he had balanced other people's books to the penny. He was, at that moment, describing himself receiving an allowance from his own account, of his own money, which was not his money, which was mine. Dad, has Mom ever logged into that account online? A pause. Longer this time. No, we don't do that online banking thing. Michael handles it. Dad. Honey, he's doing his best. Please don't fight with him. There was a particular kind of silence in my father's voice. It was not ignorance. It was the silence of a man who had chosen, at some point, not to ask. Dad, I'm not fighting. I'm asking. I know you are. Another pause. I know you are. He did not say more. He did not need to. My father loved me. I have never doubted this. But loving a daughter and defending her are not the same skill. And my father had only ever practiced one of them. I told him I loved him. I told him I would see him at the gala. He told me he would wear the blue tie. We hung up. I stood in my kitchen for a long time. My brother had been leaving a paper trail for years. He had simply never expected anyone in our family to know how to read one. Marcus had run the due diligence package that any family office runs on any connected party to a charitable transaction. It is a standard procedure. It would have been malpractice not to. What it pulled: 2 federal tax liens, totaling $42,000, filed in 2023 and 2024. 1 civil suit from a different sports book, this one in New Jersey, $28,000. Settled out of court in late 2023 with a non-disclosure that did not cover the fact of the settlement itself. Only the terms. A lien, briefly, against a car he had bought in 2022. Released 3 months later. Released, according to the county record, because a personal loan from family had cleared it. Family. Lovely word. All of it public record. All of it accessible through any commercial due diligence tool a regulated firm like mine was required, by federal law, to run on any person financially connected to a transaction over $5 million. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was private. Nothing was gathered out of anger or personal curiosity. It was the most boring thing in the world. It was the paperwork. My brother, who had for 15 years enjoyed telling my father I did not understand the real world, had a tax lien bigger than my first car. By the end of that week, I had more documentation on my own brother than I had on half the third-party vendors the firm reviewed every quarter. I remember thinking, as I closed the folder, that I felt very little about what I had just read. A tiredness, maybe. Not satisfaction. Nothing triumphant. Just the flat tone of a woman finishing a spreadsheet she had hoped not to need. The Gala program arrived on a Friday morning by overnight courier. It came in a cream envelope wrapped in tissue. The card inside was so thick it clicked when I set it down on my kitchen counter. I made coffee. I sat with it for a minute before I opened it. The program was gold foil and cream and 4 panels deep. It listed the evening's honorees by tier. It listed the Goodwin Cardiology Wing, my firm's commitment, at the top, as lead donor. Underneath, in the secondary tier, it listed Dr. Michael Goodwin, MD Matching Gift Partner. Personal pledge, $250,000. Next to his name was a small photograph. White coat, stethoscope. The smile he used for hospital hallways. I stared at it for a long time. I had not seen that photograph before. He had provided it to the event committee himself. He had also, apparently, self-nominated the matching gift partnership because our firm's internal records showed no pledge from him of any kind, and the foundation's records were based entirely on his self-reported letter, which was on his hospital letterhead, signed by him, dated 4 weeks earlier. It was, in plain English, a fraudulent filing. It was printed, in gold foil, on paper so thick you could feel the weight of the lie in your hand. There is a kind of arrogance that only reveals itself in a printed invitation. A man who will put his own lie on cardstock is a man who has run out of other places to hide it. I set the program down. I finished my coffee. I sent Marcus a one-line email. Please confirm in writing that no matching pledge from Michael Goodwin exists in our records. I need this for the file. Marcus wrote back in 12 minutes. Confirmed. On letterhead. In writing. Forever. Let me tell you exactly why I chose the Gala. I know you've been wondering. I had 3 other options. I considered each one. I could have called my brother privately. He would have denied it. I know this because I had already given him a smaller version of the same question, years ago, in a different context, and he had denied it then. And I had no reason to expect a different performance. I could have called the police. Wire fraud is a federal matter. They would have taken my call. The investigation would have proceeded without any input from me, and it might still. I did not want the government to tell my mother first. I wanted to be the one to tell my mother. I could have called the hospital's foundation director directly. She would have handled it. Quietly. In-house. My brother's name would have been scrubbed from the program, and the evening would have gone forward with a small printed correction, and no one at that table of 300 would ever have known my name. None of those paths gave my parents the truth. None of them gave me the record. And none of them answered the question that had been sitting in my chest since I was 8 years old, which was whether my mother could, if the evidence were laid in front of her, in front of witnesses, ever actually see me. Women over 40, I need you to hear this part carefully. You do not owe your family a private apology tour when they have spent decades embarrassing you in public. You are allowed to answer in the same register in which the question was asked. By Saturday night, I had written my remarks. 4 paragraphs, 1 page. I did not change a word for 3 weeks. I met my brother at a hotel restaurant in Boston on a Thursday. For a lunch, neither of us ate. I had chosen the place for 2 reasons. It was public enough that he would not make a scene. It was private enough that he would not perform. I knew my brother. My brother could not resist an audience. I had not given him one. And he came in wearing a blazer and the smile he used when he was busy, but had made time. He ordered a martini. I ordered tea. I put a folder on the table. Plain gray, clasp envelope. Michael. I know about Delaware. I know about the crypto. I know none of the money reached Mom and Dad. I know the $250,000 pledge does not exist, the one you put in the Gala program. I'm giving you one chance to withdraw it. Quietly. Before the event. He let 4 seconds pass. I counted. Then he laughed. Not a small laugh. A big, working one. Beverly, you've always been dramatic. No, Michael. I've always been quiet. It's a very different thing. He took a long sip of his martini. Mom and Dad will never believe you. Mom says you've been jealous of me since you were 8. That's why I'm doing it at the Gala. So Mom doesn't have to take my word for it. You'll tear this family apart. You already did. I'm just noting it in writing. I watched him then. His hand on the glass was steady. Barely. The skin under his left eye was twitching in a way I had never noticed before. I had been looking at him my whole life and had never looked at him this carefully. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. He left without paying the check. I paid it. I wrote final in the memo line, in my head, and it was the last grace I ever owed him. By Friday morning, my mother had 3 voicemails in my inbox and my brother had 2. By Saturday, my mother had 7. I listened to 1. It was enough. Beverly, your brother is very upset. He said you've accused him of terrible things. We did not raise you to do this. Whatever happened in Boston, you need to apologize. We are a family. She had said the phrase, "We are a family," the way she always said it, the way she said it when she was about to ask me to absorb another injury for the sake of her Christmas card. I did not call her back Saturday. I did not call her back Sunday. On Monday morning, she called me on my work line, which she had not called in 2 years. I answered because I thought it might be an emergency. "Beverly, have you logged into the joint account?" "Why are you asking?" "Because your brother said." "Mom, have you logged in?" Silence. "I can't remember the password." "Then reset it." "I don't want to." There was my mother, at the edge of her own truth, refusing to open the browser. I softened my voice. Not for her. For me. "Mom, I'll see you at the gala. We can talk after, I promise." "Beverly, please." "Mom, I love you. I'll see you in Ohio." I hung up. The mother who says, "We did not raise you to do this," usually means, "We raised you to be convenient, and you have become inconvenient." I have not met the exception to this rule. I have looked. I did not return any other calls that week. I had run out of the currency my family spent, which is, and has always been, my compliance. Lauren's second email came on a Sunday night with 11 attachments and a single line of text. "Thought you should have these. On your terms." I opened them in order. A home equity line statement from 2023. Withdrawals I recognized as my brother's handwriting on the memo fields, even from a scan. $74,000 in 18 months. Mostly $4,000 chunks. A divorce petition draft. Clean. Factual. No melodrama. Credit card statements. Sportsbook. Crypto. A liquor store in Cincinnati that billed daily for 8 straight months. A letter from a collections firm addressed to my brother, requesting $31,000 on a line of credit I had never heard of. And last, a single screenshot of a text message, not lit up by emotion, not a private conversation between him and another woman. Worse. It was a text from my brother to a friend of his from residency, a man named Doug, who I had met once at a wedding. The date was a Tuesday in October 2 years ago. The time was 11:47 p.m. "I'm drowning, but my sister thinks she's funding Mom's insulin. LMAO." I read it 3 times. There is no metaphor for what a sentence like that does to a person. No seasonal comparison. No weather. You read it, and afterward your hands are the same hands. And your coffee is the same coffee, and something inside you is not the same thing it was before. I closed the laptop. I went for a walk. It was 11 degrees out. I walked for an hour. When I came back, Lauren's screenshot was still open on the screen. I printed it. I filed it. I did not cry. I would say that line once, at the gala, in front of 300 people. And then, never again. The day before the gala, I ironed a dress I had owned for 4 years and had only worn twice. It was charcoal, wool crepe, long sleeves, a collar like a man's shirt collar turned down. My mother had once told me, at an event we had both gone to, that it made me look like a lawyer. She had not meant it as a compliment. I had kept the dress. I laid it on the bed. I polished my shoes. I pulled out my grandmother's diamond earrings, in the ones she had left to me and not to my mother, because my grandmother had understood a thing about her own daughter that my mother had never understood about me. I did not wear red lipstick. I wore nothing that could be mistaken for revenge. I was not going to Ohio to win. I read my remarks again. 4 paragraphs, 1 page, every sentence cleared by Marcus. Every claim sourced to a document I could place on a table under fluorescent light without flinching. Helena called me at 6. "Bev, last chance to back out. This will follow him for life." Helena. He used our mother's signature, on a joint account, as cover for a gambling line in Delaware. I'm not the one following him. I'm the one who stopped. A long pause. "All right. See you tomorrow." I hung up. I finished packing. I put the folder in my carry-on. I put Lauren's card back in my wallet next to my license. I had spent 15 years being told I was cold. I had come to believe it was one of my better qualities. Helena asked, before we hung up, if I was nervous. I told her the truth. I told her I had been rehearsing this speech, without knowing it, since I was 8 years old. I drove to Ohio on a Saturday in April. I wore the dress. I did not wear red. I drove the whole 12 hours myself. I do not fly to my mother's town. I never have. The airport is an hour away from their house, and it takes longer to get out of the terminal than it takes to drive 2 extra states. I drove. I did not listen to music. I listened to a podcast about behavioral finance, which was what I listened to when I did not want to think about anything else. The host had a calm voice, and I had met him once at a conference. He had asked me to come on his show. I had said no. I would say no again this year. I do not like being on shows. I like listening. Somewhere in Indiana, I thought about the piano. My mother had sold her upright when Michael was 14. She sold it to pay for his summer science program. She had played it every Sunday of my childhood, quietly, after church, for maybe 20 minutes. I had never once asked her why she stopped. I thought about my grandmother's earrings in my ears. I thought about my father's blue tie. I got to the hotel at 4:12 p.m. The ballroom was in the same building. I checked in. I hung the dress. I sat on the edge of the bed and I drank a glass of water from the tap, and I did not rehearse the speech. I had stopped rehearsing it 4 days ago. There is a point in any speech where rehearsal starts to hurt it. I had not driven to Ohio to win. I had driven to Ohio to stop losing. One more conversation was coming, the one I had been preparing for since I was a child, without ever knowing its exact shape. I walked into the ballroom at 6 o'clock. The chandeliers were lit. The napkins were folded like small white birds. The donor wall was on the north side, lit from underneath, with a cloth draped over the new stone block that would be unveiled after dinner. 300 people in tuxedos and long dresses, a string quartet tuning by the stage, waiters moving through with trays of champagne. My mother saw me first. She was across the room. She set down her glass. She walked toward me. Her face was the face of a woman trying very hard to look normal. "Beverly, please. Don't make a scene tonight. We'll talk tomorrow." I looked at her for a long moment. She was wearing the dress I had sent her 2 Christmases ago. "Mom, I'm here as CFO of Goodwin Hartley. I'm speaking at 8:15. She blinked. The same blink. "What?" My brother was walking toward us now, grinning the hallway grin, hand extended in that way he had. The easy way. "Sis, let's be cool tonight." "I'm always cool, Michael." My father was standing 3 steps behind them. He did not come closer. He did not look away. He just watched me. Then, very slowly, and without saying a word, he nodded. Once. It was the first time in 39 years that my father had ever nodded at me in that way. Like a man acknowledging another person's professional entrance into a room. My mother said, "Beverly, what are you talking about?" And I did not answer her. The ballroom smelled like lilies and warm butter. 300 strangers were about to hear my family's entire history in under 4 minutes. I walked to my table. My father looked at me across the room, and for the first time in my life, I did not look away first. We sat at the same table. Of course we did. The foundation had seated us together because we were the Goodwins, and the Goodwin cardiology wing was the reason we were all there. My mother, my father, Michael, Lauren. Yes, Lauren was there, because she was still technically his wife, and she had been invited months before the divorce filing, and she had come anyway, because she had told me she would, and 3 members of the hospital board I had met twice. The beef was medium rare. The green beans were almondine. Nobody ate much. Michael told a story about a patient, The one about the grateful man who had sent him a crate of pears at Christmas. It was a story I had heard 11 times. He told it with the laugh he used when he was working too hard at a joke. Sweat was coming through his shirt. I could see it at the collar. Lauren sipped her wine and said almost nothing. My mother kept glancing at me and pretending not to. My father cut his meat into very small pieces. At 7:58 p.m., Helena walked past the table and touched my shoulder. 15 minutes. My mother finally said it out loud. Beverly, you're really speaking? Yes, Mom, I really am. She looked at my father for rescue. He did not rescue her. He set down his knife. He set down his fork. He looked at me, across the centerpiece of white ranunculus and eucalyptus, and he said the 4 quietest words of his life. Let her speak, Nancy. Nobody at the table spoke for the rest of the dinner. I will tell you how to tell when a man has finally understood something. He stops eating his dessert. My father's 4 words were the only apology he would ever give me. They were enough. At 8:12 p.m., Helena walked onto the stage. She welcomed the room in the tone she used for rooms like this one, warm, unhurried, a little funny. She introduced the Goodwin cardiology wing. She thanked Goodwin Hartley Family Office for the $18 million lead commitment, and 200 people turned and looked at my table, and I did not move. And tonight, Helena said, before we unveil the wall, our CFO, Ms. Beverly Goodwin, has requested the honor of speaking on behalf of the firm. The room clapped. Politely, the clap of a room that does not yet know what is happening. Michael set down his glass. His face had gone the color of old milk. My mother turned to look at me fully. My father already was. If you have ever sent money and never heard a thank you, stay with me. This next part is for you. I want to say something about this part of the video. I know 97% of people watching scroll past without subscribing. If you have stayed with me this far, do me the kindness of being in the 3%. It means more than you know. Now, let me tell you what I said. I stood up. I smoothed the charcoal dress. I walked to the stage. My heels did not make a sound on the carpet. My heart was the only thing in the room making any noise, and only I could hear it. I reached the microphone. I placed the folder on the podium. I did not open it. I did not need to. I had memorized every line 3 weeks earlier on a Friday night, over a cup of cooling coffee in a kitchen in Cambridge. I looked out at the room. I found my mother's face, and I began. Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Vaughn. On behalf of Goodwin Hartley Family Office, we are honored to underwrite the cardiology wing. My parents, Richard and Nancy Goodwin, are with us tonight. My brother, Dr. Michael Goodwin, is also here. I want to correct one line in the program. The $250,000 matching gift attributed to Dr. Michael Goodwin has not been received by this foundation. Our compliance office has confirmed that no personal pledge from him exists in our records. The listing will be withdrawn. I also want to share something that is in the public record. One, it will be filed within the week. For 5 years, I transferred $3,000 a month to a joint account. The account was intended for my parents. Those funds did not reach them. A forensic audit by this firm's compliance team has documented their diversion. The matter has been referred to counsel and to the appropriate authorities. My parents did not know. They were lied to for as long as I was. I am not here tonight to punish my family. I am here for one reason, to make sure this institution is funded by honesty. It will carry my family's name on its wall. That name should mean what it says. The Goodwin Cardiology Wing is real. The Goodwin family's contribution is real. One of us made that contribution. The records will show which. Thank you. I did not raise my voice. I raised the truth. And let the room decide what to do with it. I closed the folder I had never opened. I stepped back from the microphone. I did not look at my brother. I looked at my mother. My mother was crying the way a woman cries when she has finally seen a thing she has been asked not to see for 30 years. I walked off the stage. Behind me, the silence held for 4 seconds. I counted. I am a CFO. I count things. One woman at the back of the ballroom began to clap, then another, then a table near the front. Then, very slowly, the entire room. It was not a roar. It was the kind of clapping that spreads like a slow spill. People clapping who did not yet know what they had just heard. People clapping because other people were clapping. And then, in small pockets, people clapping because they had understood exactly what I had said. And who I had said it about. And why. Michael was already standing. He walked toward the back doors of the ballroom. He walked the way a man walks when he is trying to look like he is not running. A member of the foundation's security staff, a tall woman in a black suit, whom I had never met and whom Helena had positioned by the service door earlier that week, stepped quietly behind him. He did not turn. She followed him out. My mother sat where she was. She did not stand. She did not leave. Her hand was in my father's hand. My father's hand was steady. Lauren remained in her seat. She put her glass down. She looked up at me, and she gave me the smallest nod a woman can give another woman. I have thought about that nod many times since. Helena met me at the bottom of the stage steps. Her hand was on my elbow. Backstage, now. The local press is in the back. I nodded. As I walked past my parents' table, my father stood up. He did not reach for me. He did not say anything. He just stood up. It was the first time in my adult life my father had ever stood when I entered a room, or when I left one. Michael caught me in the hallway by the coat check. He had sweated through the back of his shirt. The security officer was 10 feet behind him. He did not notice her. "You've destroyed me. You've destroyed Mom." "No, Michael. You did both of those things. I just stopped helping you hide them. The hospital will take my license." "Probably. That is between you and the board. You are my sister." "I was. For a long time. I still am, actually. I am still your sister." I took a small breath. "I'm just no longer your pipeline." He opened his mouth. He closed it. And he tried again. "Bev, please. I have a daughter. You have a daughter. You have a wife. You have parents. You have a hospital that trusted you. And you used all of them. You used me longest. You don't get to pick which of those debts I forgive tonight." He was shaking. Not dramatically. The way a man shakes when adrenaline is leaving a body that has run on it for too long. He used the word destroyed, the way men use it when they mean caught. My brother did not need my forgiveness. He needed my invoices. I walked past him. I did not touch him. The security officer, still 10 feet behind, nodded at me as I passed. I nodded back. Professional to professional. Woman to woman. I kept walking. I have been asked many times since whether I felt anything in that hallway. Anger, maybe. Pity. Triumph. I felt none of those things. I felt the strange cool of a task completed. The way you feel at the end of a long audit, ready to put the folders away. He called my name once more, behind me. I did not turn around. Helena brought me into a small room behind the stage. A green room, a mirror, a pitcher of water, 2 chairs. She stood outside. The door opened. My mother came in. My father came in behind her. He closed the door. My mother stopped just inside, as if she had forgotten the way back out of her own life. "Is it true? All of it?" I placed the folder on the small table. I did not open it. "Every number." My mother looked at the folder. She did not open it either. "I said terrible things at that dinner in October." "Yes." "I don't know how to—" "Mom, don't. Not tonight." "Beverly. Tomorrow. Or next month. Or next year. But not here. Not in this room. I'm not ready yet." My father took my mother's hand, not to comfort her, to steady her. He said very quietly, "Nancy, let's go." My mother nodded. She touched the folder with 2 fingers like she was testing the temperature of a pan. She did not pick it up. They left. Helena came back in. "Press? 2 questions, no more. I'll take them in the main hall. I want it public. I want it boring." She smiled. "That's my girl." I sat down. I drank the water in the pitcher. All of it. I had not realized I was thirsty. 3 weeks of audit. 6 months of knowing something was wrong. 15 years of being told I was less. All of it had come down to a folder I had never opened, in a room where my mother had finally stopped asking me to be convenient. I did not forgive her that night. I did something better. I left her the door open. The Monday after a reveal is quieter than people think. Monday morning, the hospital's Media Affairs office issued a 2-sentence statement. It confirmed that the matching gift listing had been withdrawn and that the foundation was cooperating with an internal review. The statement used the word cooperating twice. I noticed this because I wrote for a living, for a long time, before I learned to count for a living. Tuesday, the Ohio State Medical Board acknowledged receipt of a complaint. Their public system logs these automatically. It took me 4 minutes to confirm it had been filed, 4 more minutes to close my laptop. Wednesday, Lauren filed the divorce formally. She sent me a 2-line email when it was done. "On the record now. Thank you for the push, even though you didn't know you were giving me one." I replied with 1 line. "I did know." Thursday, the Millbrook Herald, the small county paper I had delivered on my bicycle when I was 12, ran a 700-word piece on its front page. It did not name my brother. It used the phrase, "a local physician under review." Everyone in town knew who. I had grown up in that town. Nobody in it needed a name to read a story. Friday, Goodwin Hartley announced a supplemental gift of $100,000, designated in the names of Richard and Nancy Goodwin, personally, my parents, to the pediatric cardiology program. I transferred it myself. Wire log, timestamp, memo line. For Mom and Dad, with love from their daughter. Recorded. By Friday, every document that needed to exist, existed. My brother's name had been quietly erased from one wall and was in the process of being entered onto several others. I made coffee. I drank it slowly. I did not feel like celebrating. I felt like sleeping. My mother called on a Sunday morning. She had never called me on a Sunday before. Sundays had always belonged to Michael. I was making coffee. I answered on the second ring. "Beverly." "Hi, Mom." "I went to the bank yesterday." I walked in. I asked the young man at the desk to help me log in. He did. I saw. She stopped. I did not fill the silence. I stirred my coffee. "I didn't raise you well." Her voice caught. She did not try to hide that it caught. I know that now. I don't know how to. I don't know how to say I'm sorry in a way that counts. "Mom, let me finish. Please." I let her. I wanted a son who was a doctor. And I wanted it so hard I couldn't see the daughter I already had. "Your father says I made you into a ghost in my own house." He said that? He said it last Tuesday. He hasn't said a sentence that long to me in 30 years. I laughed once. A small laugh. It surprised us both. "Mom, start by saying it once. We'll do it again next Sunday." She cried. I did not cry. I stirred my coffee. I listened. 9 minutes. I let her. "I love you, Beverly. I know you do. You do not need to prove it to me today. You will have many chances to prove it. I will take them." "All right, Mom." We hung up. There is a kind of apology that arrives 30 years late. It is not less valuable for being late. It is exactly as valuable as it would have been earlier. It is only that the person apologizing has finally earned it. I did not watch my brother fall. I received reports. Helena called me 2 months after the gala. The medical board had required him to surrender his license on a temporary basis, pending completion of the investigation. The hospital had placed him on unpaid leave. A civil action had been filed by the sportsbook in Delaware for $340,000, which he could not pay. His bankruptcy attorney had filed the preliminary paperwork the following week. Lauren's divorce finalized in early summer. She kept primary custody of their 3-year-old. Michael received supervised visitation. Michael moved back into my parents' house, their guest room, which had once been my room. My mother had kept it mine for almost 20 years, and had then, 6 months before any of this, painted over the pale blue I had chosen when I was 15. She had painted it the color of a hospital hallway. Now it held my brother. My father called me one afternoon. "Beverly, your brother is here. He is not the same." "I know, Dad. Will you come visit?" "I will come visit you and Mom. Alone. I will see Michael when he is ready. When he hands me a plan. Written in full sentences. Not before." "Understood." That was all he said. Understood. He had never used that word with me before. He was using it more often now. My brother, who had once refused to ride in the passenger seat of anyone's car, was living in his parents' guest room at 43. He had surrendered his stethoscope to a manila folder in a state office. I did not celebrate. I also did not mourn. I just kept working. In The Cat Who Finally Brings Home the Mouse does not need to explain the mouse to anyone. My father called me on a Tuesday afternoon. I was between meetings. I took the call. "Beverly. Dad." I knew something was wrong. For maybe 2 years. I didn't know what. I was afraid to look. "Dad. I am not asking you to forgive me. I am asking if I can see you. Alone. When you are next in Ohio." I stood up from my desk. I walked to the window. The harbor was the color of unpolished silver. I watched a small sailboat crossing in the distance, its white triangle bright against the gray. "Yes, Dad. Coffee. Just us." "I would like that." Silence. I could hear him breathing, the small catch in his breathing I had heard all my life, from when he had pneumonia as a young man, from before I was born. "I am proud of you, Beverly. I should have said it a long time ago. I am saying it now. I will say it again. I will say it until you believe me." I did not know what to say. I had waited for that sentence for so long that when it came, the shape of it did not match the shape of the waiting. "Thank you, Dad. I love you. I love you too." We hung up. I stood at the window for a long time. I did not cry. I took the afternoon off. It was the first afternoon I had ever taken off without a meeting to rearrange or a vacation to justify. Words that come late do not cost less for being late. They cost more. The man who says them has paid interest on his silence. I went home. I opened a bottle of wine I had been saving. I drank 1 glass. Boundaries are not walls. They are fences with gates. I built a gate, and I kept the key. I set up a fiduciary trust for my parents the summer after the gala. $5,000 a month, paid directly to them, reviewed quarterly by a local firm I had vetted myself. No joint accounts, no pass-throughs, no intermediaries named Michael. My mother, to her credit, learned to read a statement. She made the fiduciary explain the first one to her twice. The second time, she took notes. I drove to Millbrook every 2 months. I stayed 2 nights. I did not eat dinner at the house if my brother was there. I had coffee with my father, every visit, at a diner on Route 14 with paper placemats, and a woman named Linda who remembered me from when I was 6 and had always liked me better than she liked my brother, though she had the sense never to say so out loud. My mother learned not to mention Michael when I was in her house. Not out of anger at him. Out of respect for me. She had never learned that word with me before. She was learning it now. I did not forgive quickly. I did not need to. I only needed the truth to be able to exist in the same room as my family. The first year was awkward. The second year was quieter. The third year, my mother called me every Sunday morning, and not once did she begin a sentence with the word Michael. She began them with different words now. Tell me how your week was. Tell me what you're working on. Tell me about you, Beverly. I told her. And she listened. A year after the gala, I stood in front of the cardiology wing with my mother. The plaque was on the north wall. The names were cut into dark stone in a row. My father's name. My mother's name. Mine. She read them out loud. All three. She said mine last. Yet she let it sit in the air. I let her. I had thought, for most of my life, that my family needed me to be patient. That is what I was. For 15 years. Patient. Quiet. Reliable. Never asking for the thank you I had earned. My family did not need me to be patient. My family needed me to be honest. I had thought silence was politeness. Silence is not politeness. Silence, practiced long enough, becomes a form of agreement. A slow, quiet yes to every small cruelty that arrives between the gravy and the green beans. I thought about my mother selling her piano for Michael. I thought about my father at the breakfast table, reading the paper, letting his wife run the story of our family. They were not monsters. They were people. People who had made particular choices over particular decades, and who had, I now believed, which the capacity to make different ones in whatever decades they had left. I still send my mother flowers on her birthday. I still sign the card only, Beverly, not your daughter. She seems to prefer it. So do I. My brother sent me a letter about 8 months after the gala. Handwritten. 3 pages. I read the first paragraph. I folded the letter back up. I put it in a drawer. I have not read the rest. I may one day. I may never. I had not become a better daughter. I had become a daughter who could afford to be herself in her parents' house. That is the only better worth having. The one where you stop needing to be different to be loved. If you have walked with me this far, let me leave you with what I kept from all of this. Do not wait for your family to recognize you. Do not wait for an apology. Do not wait for a particular dinner at which everything finally becomes clear. These dinners do not exist. They are a fantasy, and the fantasy will keep you at your family's table long after the food is cold. Also, do not burn it all down. You do not need to burn it down. You need to build a fence and a gate, and keep the key on your own ring. The money, the time, the quiet labor you have given for years with no receipt. Write it down, not to cash it in. Just so you remember who you are when the next bowl of pot roast arrives. The reliable one in a family is never thanked on time. The reliable one is sometimes thanked late. And the reliable one, if she is lucky, if she is honest, if she is patient with the right things and done being patient with the wrong ones, learns in the end to thank herself. That is the only thank you that was ever going to be on time. You who are listening tonight, thank you for being the kind of woman who finishes the story. We are a rare breed. We are the ones who sit through the 4 paragraphs. We are the ones who, when the time comes, write them. Nobody is coming to tell you that you have done enough. Nobody is coming to hand you the microphone. You will have to stand up. You will have to smooth the dress. You will have to walk. The day you do is the day the rest of your life starts. I did it on a Saturday in April. You can do it on a Tuesday, on a Thursday morning, on whatever day the coffee is warm and the folder is ready. Every morning now, I drink my coffee before I answer the phone. It is a small rule. I made it up the week after the gala. The phone goes face down on the counter, and the coffee gets drunk first. Whatever the phone has for me, my mother, a colleague, a voicemail I did not get to yesterday, Helena asking me to serve on a committee, Lauren sending me a photo of her daughter on a swing set. It can wait 8 minutes. 8 minutes is not very long. It is long enough. I have a kitchen with a window that faces east. In May, the light comes in gold. In November, it comes in silver. The cup I use is the same heavy white cup I have had for 11 years. The spoon is one my grandmother gave me, stamped with a small rose on the handle, which my mother had wanted once, and which had come to me instead. I am 39 still. In a few months, I will be 40. I am not afraid of it. I have already done the hardest thing I will ever do in this family, and the coffee is still warm. When I still get the Millbrook Herald. It comes in the mail on Wednesdays. I read the obituaries. I read the school board reports. I never look for my brother's name in it, though I know, one of these days, I may see it. In a good way, I hope. Thank you for sitting with me tonight. You gave me 3 of your hours, and that is not nothing. If this story met you where you are, tell me in the comments. Tell me what you would name the room you reclaimed. Tell me your first name and your city, so I know who is at the table. Come back tomorrow. I'll put the kettle on.